The director is the artistic head of the production. They decide how to transfer the written text from the page to the stage. Directors can approach the direction of a play in three ways. First, literally, the literal approach. The director accepts the play as complete. The playwright's words are his and should be followed, and it is their goal as director to make that transfer from page to stage as literal as possible without changing anything. Um, this shows a great deal of respect for the work, for the playwright, for the play, and how the playwright intended it to be presented on the stage. The second approach is the translation approach. This is the most common approach. Um, this allows the director to maintain the integrity of the story, but recognize some of the similarities between the story that could have been written in another century, in another decade, to what is happening in society today. By updating the story, the director can possibly make it a little more accessible to an audience if the story and the themes within the play are transferable in that way or translatable in that way. As I said, this today is the most common way of directing plays. It gives the director a lot of freedom and it maintains the integrity of the play because excuse me, the director will not change the text of the play, just various aspects of the story. One director, famous director, who accomplished this very successfully throughout the 20th and 21st centuries is a man by the name of Peter Brook. Peter Brook is very famous for translating the works of William Shakespeare um, simply by exploring and imagining different locations for the staging of the play, the inner staging of the play where the actual action is set, as well as casting. He's very famous for translating William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. He was one of the first to recognize the parallels between the characters of Hippolyta and Theseus and Oberon and Titania in these two these pairs of characters and cast actors to play both. Um, so that's innovative as an example of the translation approach. The third approach allows the director to read the text of the play and work from it as raw material for his vision. This allows the director to serve as playwright. The French refer to it as auteur, this approach, becoming author. Um, Taking the essence of the story, actually departing from the written text. In other words, not using the language that the playwright originally wrote the play in, but departing from that. A very innovative and what we call avant garde theater director was a man by the name of Robert Wilson. Robert Wilson went so far sometimes as to experiment with what he called scenic writing. And rather than using text or words to tell a story, Wilson told stories through visual images. Um, Sometimes before even approaching the stage, working with storyboards, discovering these images, and then translating those images or transferring those images to the stage. This approach is extremely challenging. All of the approaches are challenging, of course. This one, um, becomes so incredibly personal for the director that trying to recreate a performance of this type, if I want to direct this interpretation, this rewriting of this play, I will have trouble because it is so much a part of the director's creativity, so much a part of their vision for the play. Another director wouldn't have the awareness that that director has. Um, so these are the three approaches. The literal approach, where the director respects the playwright's writing completely, directs it as it is written. The second approach, and now the most common, is the translation approach, where the director um, recognizes the power of the story and is secure enough with it to change location, experiment with casting, making sure that the story itself still resonates with an audience. And the third approach is to, as we said, it allows the director to view the written script as raw material, inspirational material from which they will tell a story. They will rewrite the story and tell it. And we mentioned, of course, Robert Wilson, the avant garde director who abandoned the actual words, the text of the script, and told stories with images on stage. That is a major way of treating the text as raw material and telling the story that way.